Hello, hockey fans. The Minnesota Hockey Connection is on the air. We're on the air for the next half hour. I'm Kenny Gallagher, along with Jerry Burrow. And Jerry, the NHL playoffs are down to the final 8 teams. The NAHL playoffs, we still have a Wilderness team in it.
Yes, we do.
They play Aberdeen.
Yes, and they're going out to Aberdeen this weekend for 2 more games. And if one team wins both games, the series is over, and the winning team would be in the Robertson Cup. If they split out there, then it comes back Monday night at the Northwood Arena up in Cloquet, and that'll be Monday night if there's a need for the 5th game. But 2 great games there this last weekend.
Okay, time out. So they just finished 2 games in Cloquet this weekend. We're taping today, May 1st, Monday. When is the next game?
Friday night.
Really? They have that big of a gap in between,
Right,
huh?
they do it on the weekends. They try to get them all on the weekends.
Okay.
Down in Texas, they're doing their games, their next 2 games today and tomorrow.
All right.
Corpus Christi and Lone Star.
So right now the series is
1-1.
And it's a best of 5.
Right.
And that will resume then this weekend, Friday in Aberdeen.
Right.
And then the winner of that series will come to Duluth.
Right. And they'll be most likely the 4th seed. So they'll play the number 1 seed.
Well, let's hope the Wilderness,
Just make it.
based in Cloquet, can make it to the Robertson Cup, which will be held at the Heritage Sports Center. This is huge. This is a big deal. We talked to Alex Curious. Was it Alex?
Right.
And he's going to be up here for that. He's the sales and marketing manager for the NAHL based in Texas.
Right there. He'll be in town next Monday, and he'll be here all week. And, I mean, that's a big event, the Robertson Cup. That's the Stanley Cup of the North American Hockey League. Plus, they're having the prospect camp where they're bringing in about 125 kids from all over the United States, really, but mostly in the Midwest. Checked out.
You'll have an opportunity as a fan or a coach or a scout to see these prospects. 125.
Yeah, there'll be over 100 for sure.
Yeah. Wow, well, that's great that the Heritage Sports Center, Essentia Health Duluth Sports Center, will be hosting this. Of course, we had Jerry DeMeo on, the president, CEO of the Heritage here last week before, and kind of went through that. But again, May 11th, it starts.
Yeah, May 11th through the 14th. And the top 4 teams, the ones that win each division will be here. And they'll go 1 seed against 4 seed and 2 against 3. And it'll be the best of 3. So some teams might win the first Thursday and Friday night, then they don't play Saturday. But then the championship game of the 2 winners of those series play Sunday at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
So it's the best out of 3 on the first 3 days.
Yeah.
So a lot of hockey.
Yeah, there's a lot of hockey left locally, and that's a good thing because, we want to keep doing this as long as we can here. But we'll wrap up here as probably this month. Maybe next month, we'll see. But the NHL playoffs have come down to the final 8. Did you get a chance to see this game up in Edmonton where this guy who was going to sing the national anthem, it sounded like his mic went out? I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, then
I could hear him, but I wasn't sure if I was hearing him through the mic or through the camera. Anyways, the crowd, the entire arena, sang the national anthem, the American national anthem.
Right.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw this end part of it.
That was
pretty
amazing.
Neat, yeah.
That was amazing.
He got the crowd going into it, yeah.
I've been to a lot of hockey games. I've never really understood why we do that national anthem thing, but I'm not going to, I'm not complaining, but it's a song that it's hard to sing because when the singer is singing, sometimes it's hard to sing in the key of what that singer is singing. And if you don't start out at a low note, you're going to catch yourself trying to hit some pretty high notes.
Some do it in a different way too.
Yeah,
I call it unique.
Right. If Amsoil Arena let the crowd sing it, I wonder what that would turn out like. I can honestly say I don't recall ever going to any sporting event and singing the national anthem because I leave it up to the singer.
Well, remember, there's been a few times where the mic went out at the Amsoil during the UMD game, and the students, they were pretty good. I mean, it's like a choir. They were pretty good at this.
All right. I don't recall if I've witnessed that, but Should we do a rendition of the national anthem right now?
Well, okay. Oh, I'll say it.
I was blown away by that. Edmonton fans, boy, hats off. That was really something. The NHL playoffs.
Boy, I like watching that team. The youth
Edmonton.
on that team, yeah.
Yeah. You know,
Conor McGregor, the goal he got last night. Holy God! The way
I didn't get a chance to see that, but
Oh.
I'll tell you, this team, Edmonton played Carolina back in the 03. What was it? Was it 03? I don't recall. It wasn't that long
Right.
ago. And Dwayne Rollison,
Yeah.
a goaltender
Yeah.
for Edmonton, got hurt, I think, in the first game, out for the rest of the series. GM McTavish, you could tell he was disappointed. Their backup goalie came in, and they lost to Carolina. If Rolly's healthy, do they win? Well, we'll never know. But I was excited about that Edmonton team. This Edmonton team could make it to the Stanley Cup. And, boy, if they do, and when was the last time Edmonton won Stanley? Was it 93 with Gretzky?
Yeah, it's
Or
way
was he
back.
gone by then?
No, he was gone
Yeah,
by 88.
88. Right.
88, he came
Right.
into the Kings because I was living out in California when I went to his opening game.
Yeah.
Were people excited when he came down to L.A. Changed the game of hockey.
Sure did. Yeah.
One guy.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, during the week they'd fill the stadium half, 50%. I mean, and when he came in there, every game has been sold out ever since.
Worst trade in the history of Edmonton, best trade in the history of the NHL.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Boy, did the fans up in Edmonton, they didn't like that owner.
Yeah, what was it, Pockington?
Yeah,
Or-
Peter.
Pockington? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're going to jump into this and get going here again. The
But going back to the North American Hockey League, they got tickets on sale, and you can go to the Duluth Heritage Center, or you can go on the North American Hockey League website, nahl.com, and you can order from there. And I mean, I'm telling you, the tickets are cheap. I mean, $50 for a whole tournament pass.
Yeah.
That you can get up to might be up to 7 games. Depends
Yeah.
on how that first series go, 2 or 3 games.
Yeah.
And then plus you get if you want to watch the the prospect stuff, you can do that. And if you just want to go to a single game, it's $20. And if you're a senior or military or a student, it's $40 only for the whole tournament pass, or $15 per day.
Yeah.
So that's that's reasonable.
Yeah, you're going to get the senior pass.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm very senior ready.
Well, again, it's an exciting time locally. The Robertson Cup, the NAHL Championship Playoffs will be held at the Heritage Sports Center starting May 11th. Go out to the Heritage, inquire about tickets and some of the different packages they have. Or again, you can go online to where?
NAHL.com.
Oh, wow, that's simple. NHL.com, the NHL.
NAHL.
No, I know. While we're segueing to the NHL.com playoffs, the Predators and the Ducks both notched Game 3 wins in their second round series. The Predators beat the Blues. The Nashville takes a 2-1 lead in that series. The Ducks beat the Oilers to pull within 2-1 in that series. Tonight, Monday, we're taping the Capitals and Penguins. And I got to tell you, I didn't expect the Penguins to roll over Washington as much as they are. But tonight's game, if Pittsburgh wins this game,
It's over.
because Washington lost the first 2 games at home, and Pittsburgh looks like a championship team.
Right now, they're
They
playing
really
good.
do.
Yeah, I say the only weak point I would look at right now is Fleury.
The backup goalie.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah.
He was the starter for years and years
Sure.
and years and that, but he's doing a good job so far.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
But it's fun. Pittsburgh is a very offensive team. They can score real fast. You got to stay out of the box on that team because, hey, the top 4 players in the playoffs right now they're all Pittsburgh. Malkin has the most points, 13. Gensel has the most goals, 7. Crosby and Kessel each have 11 points. I mean, This is only the second series so far.
Well, it's nice that a couple of Minnesota boys. Again, Genzel was born in Omaha, but his family's from Minnesota.
Oh, they grew up in
here.
Minnesota, Greenway. Mike went to high school.
Yeah,
And
Kessel.
Gophers.
Right, Kessel's from Madison, but of course he went to the University of Minnesota. So
And they got Matt Collin.
Yeah,
on
from
that
Virginia.
team. He scored a goal the other day.
Yeah. Wow,
And
sure.
And he played his high school in Moorhead. So
Adam Krause is down at Wilkes-Barre.
there you go.
All right, any word on what they're doing? I know that they were in their championship. He had, I think, a game-winning goal in one of those games, but
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
okay. Well, again, the NHL playoffs, down to the final 8 teams. It looks like Pittsburgh will beat Washington. And I kind of was pulling for Washington. I'm not a big Ovechkin fan. I'm probably more an Ovechkin fan than I am a Sidney Crosby fan. As good as Sidney Crosby is, I'm just not a big fan.
Right.
But nonetheless, we have Matt Niskanen from Virginia, and we have T.J. Oshie, who was from Warroad, and
Nate Schmidt.
from St. Cloud State. So there's a little Minnesota connection going on there. And
Each team has.
I think it's safe to say that Ovechkin's arguably in the top 3 best players in this league. Him, Crosby, and pick another player, really. But
I should think player I would pick if you got to pick 3 is Conor McGregor, one of the young kids at Edmonton.
All right.
He's the real deal.
Yeah.
He plays both ways. He scores. He can do defense.
Now, we learned that Mikhail Granlund of the Minnesota Wild was playing with a broken hand in that series with St. Louis. Very ineffective. Is that because of the injury? Well, if it was, why don't they go to a different player, Jason Schrader or whom have you, to take over? But Mikhail Granlund just silent in that playoff series.
Right. Yeah, usually he was pretty good around the boards, and he couldn't do it around the boards at all. Mm-hmm. So maybe I hope it was the injury.
Yeah.
I don't hope it just is kind of play in the playoffs.
A lot of speculation as to who will be here next season with the Wild, who won't be. Some of the experts think that Nino Niederreiter might not be here, or Mikhail Granlund.
Who do you think will be on? They'll put on the list for Vegas.
The Las Vegas Golden Knights expansion team. Teams have to protect players, and those that don't, of course, Las Vegas has the opportunity to pick them. I don't like the way it's set up this time around. This is different than the last time they did this thing.
Plus, I don't like it. Some of these teams, they have so many players that they can't trade them or anything, so they gotta protect them.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't trade them.
It's difficult. You got the salary cap issues, and now this with expansion. Right. But nonetheless, it's occurred. I saw on one list Jonas Brodin going to Las Vegas.
He didn't play that good in playoffs. I think their 3D they're going to save. I know they're going to save Suter. They have to.
Scandella.
I don't know about Scandella either.
All right.
But Spurgeon for sure.
Yeah.
Boy,
that's
a tough. That's the third one. That third one's going to be tough for them.
Yeah.
Who do they do?
You don't think
Who do they
Scandella,
save?
huh?
No, he didn't have a good year.
Folan?
He picked up. No, he might not even be playing next year for the team.
Yeah.
So, well, that's going to be a tough one, that third one. Who they want. I guess it's going to come down to the style of play they want to.
Well, General Manager Chuck Fletcher came to the defense of his goaltender, Devin Dubnyk, and made some very good points that these games with St. Louis were very close. Minnesota had every opportunity to tie or win these games against St. Louis. They just they didn't get the bounces.
Right.
And you can say what you want. The Wild, they really had to work hard and get very little results. Is that bad luck? I think it is.
Well, Dubnyk, yeah, he did play okay, but I'll tell you one thing.
And the one shutout.
But I'll tell you one thing. He did let in about 3 softies, where most goalies would have stopped it. I mean,
there was even
that's what I don't like. And he'll make a hard save, and then all of a sudden, how did that get in?
Yeah.
The
overtime game where he played the puck behind the net, and
all these goalies, every time they go behind the net, that's trouble.
Bad things happen.
You got to have a 3-foot leash.
Yeah. I feel bad that I failed to mention a couple of weeks ago. It was, I think, April 18th was the 30th anniversary of that. They called it the Easter Epic, I believe, in Washington. It was the Capitals and the Islanders. It was Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals, and Pat LaFontaine scored on a slap shot, beating Bob Mason of Washington, and that game went 4 overtimes. At the time, it was the longest. It had all these records. I don't know if that's still the case, but Bill Clement and Mike Emmerich were the broadcasters. And by the 3rd or 4th overtime, Bill Clement had his sport coat off, his shirt off. He was down to a T-shirt and had his tie wrapped around his head. And I'll never forget it. Me and the late John Donahue were down at Fitker's Tap Room watching that game. And it was
1987.
April 18th, 1987.
Wow.
And if I'm not mistaken, that was the same night that home run slugger Mike Schmidt belted his 500th homer for the Phillies. So, yeah, I'm reminiscing.
Wow. Those are, hey, good memories.
One final memory, too. On just a general sports note, we learned that broadcast career that spanned 40 years, the legendary Marsh Nelson passed away 20 years ago. On April 30th, 1997. He retired as sports director of Channel 3 KDLH-TV in 1994. Marsh Nelson from Tower, Minnesota. He really was something. He was a tireless worker.
Nice guy.
Yeah.
Every time I met him, he was always nice to everyone, though.
He always wanted to be very complete in his broadcast, didn't want to omit a thing. Always wanted those scores updated. I had an opportunity to work with Marsh for a couple of years during the 6 and 10 broadcasts, and great memories. And 20 years ago, we lost Marsh.
Yep. And not taking anything with all the other broadcasters, but I thought he was the best calling the game.
Mr. Sports in the Twin Ports.
Yep.
And for
That's how they call him, Mr. Sports in the Twin Ports.
And for all those years, he was the PA announcer for Viking games at the Metrodome.
Yeah, he'd go down to the Viking games.
So a lot of us remember Marsh Nelson. We'll never forget him. That's for sure. Again, the Minnesota Wild, it was disappointing getting bumped out of the first round against St. Louis. St. Louis played well. They played tough. They played big. They played strong. They got the great goaltending from Jake Allen. Minnesota didn't get the lucky bounces. They didn't get the timely goals. They were only ahead in that series once. And it's unfortunate. Bruce Boudreau recapped the year, and he said that, they got a good squad. They're going to retool. They're going to come back next year. But let's face it, Bruce Boudreau doesn't have a very good playoff record, Jer.
No, he's a great regular season record, but when it comes to the playoffs, no. Yeah, I don't know what to say with that.
No, if this follows you from team to team, he's coached in other cities,
right,
and he's getting the same results.
Boy, you putting it all on the coach now?
No, but I'm just trying to make a little...
What about Fletcher and making some of these contracts?
Well, I think...
Did it help to bring in these players from Arizona? How many times did he bring in players from Buffalo, and they never panned out?
Again, I've often thought that this Minnesota Wild team, they're not built like a St. Louis team. They're not built...
No, they're not big.
Not at all. They're not even built like a... Look at the teams that are left. Pittsburgh, New York. These are some teams with some size. And the old days of hockey with your Basil McRae's and your tough guys, even your Derek Boogaards, those days are over. But still, size matters, especially in this sport.
Well, Chicago, Blackhawks, they won three Stanley Cups in 7 years, and they weren't the biggest people either, and that they went with that finesse, move the puck, and up, get up the ice, and then they had the players that could do stuff when they got in the offensive zone. And that's what the Minnesota Wild were trying to do all the time, get to be like Chicago. And a lot of teams are. But then the other teams that are big in that, if you get a close game, it's a tough... when you get big guys there in front of the net, it's no room.
There was some discussion, we had a discussion today on KDAL about what the Stanley Cup might look like, and or the final teams, Edmonton, Ottawa, and how good or bad that would be for the NHL. You know, and I've never really looked at those things that way because I personally could care less really what the NHL might think about it. This game in all sports, it's all about the fans. It's all about the fan base. And will it be the least watched if that happens? Maybe. But I don't know if that takes anything away from it. I mean, the fans in Ottawa and Edmonton, and I'm looking ahead here, obviously, and just kind of thinking out loud, but I don't think it would be terrible.
If you're a National Hockey League fan, you gotta watch it.
Well, I would, yeah.
I mean, you got two of the best players in the world, and the Carlson for the defensemen for Ottawa,
Right.
and you got McGregor.
Yeah.
You know, two of the best.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so... Watching those guys, wow.
Yeah.
How did he do that? No.
Now, Ottawa has to beat the Rangers to even think of doing that, and then they'd have to get past Pittsburgh or Washington, and we think it's going to be Pittsburgh, so we're a little ways out on
I think Ottawa is playing pretty good. They're ahead 2-0,
They are.
so they got a good chance of making it
Yeah.
to the finals of the East.
Yeah.
So, and then Edmonton, Anaheim was my pick to win it all.
You know, I'm not sure exactly when the last time two Canadian teams played in the Stanley Cup. The last, as far back as I can remember, the last time I can remember at least was 1989 Calgary and Montreal. Now, whether or not that was the last time, I'm not sure. I know 93 Montreal featured Sean Hill, but who did they play? I don't remember.
Plus Montreal in what year?
93?
Yeah, LA Kings.
Yeah, Gretzky.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right. But I'm just thinking, was it last year that not one Canadian team made the playoffs?
Yeah,
It's weird.
it is.
Now how many teams did they have in there? I think the only two that didn't get in there was Winnipeg and
Calgary. No, Calgary got
no, Calgary was in there. They played Anaheim.
Vancouver.
Yeah. So they made a big.
What happened to Calgary? Calgary came into the playoffs on an awesome winning streak. Nobody could beat Calgary. Did they get swept?
Yeah, they didn't. I think they lost one game.
Did they win one?
They won one.
Okay. Well,
That's another team up there in Canada. I mean, these young teams, that Edmonton team, but Toronto, they're way ahead of schedule the way they played at the end of the year, and that they were one of the better teams in National Hockey League, even though they lost at the end, in the playoffs there. But boy, they got some good things going on up there.
they do.
Young team.
Right. And I think you can certainly look at the personnel on the ice, but look at the personnel off the ice in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Babcock,
Right.
Shanahan.
Right.
And I really do believe that those are difference makers.
Right.
So,
You get the best of the best. And Toronto's probably the most expensive franchise in sports history of all sports. If you wanted to buy that team, even though haven't done nothing in over 30 years,
it really is amazing that that occurs year after year in Toronto. Like you said, they built a new arena
Right.
and a few years back, and they haven't made the playoffs. Was this year the first time in the playoffs in
Long time.
a long time, decades?
But
Hard to believe.
another thing is that the most expensive ticket in hockey, and they still fill it up no matter how bad they are,
Yeah.
And during the playoffs here, they're showing shots outside. There's 20,000 inside the stadium. There's over 20,000 outside. They got these big TVs and that. It's crazy.
It's Canada.
Talking about they like their hockey
Yeah.
up in Toronto.
Oh,
Holy
yeah.
cow.
Yeah. They, of course they do. It's Canada, eh?
Yeah.
Dominic Toninato, a member of the Toronto organization, no?
We signed today?
No, I'm just saying that, he's drafted
No.
by Toronto. I didn't.
Everyone, we've been talking about that this last week. He was drafted by Toronto right out of high school, and we're all kind of surprised why isn't Toronto signing him? Because they got about 2 more months to do it. If they don't do it, he's a free agent.
I see.
Because they got the rights for 4 years.
Well, maybe he doesn't want to play in Toronto.
No, something's going on. I hope they sign him. Because, hey, he's one of the best two-way players there is.
Yeah.
And, it's so funny, when they drafted him, Toronto didn't have any centers. They had just these second-hand centers on that team. That was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Now they got all these centers, these young kids, and that.
Well, again, when you got Brendan Shanahan as your, is he the GM?
Yeah.
And Mike Babcock is your head coach. They're going to get things done up there. They're going to get results, and they have.
Right. But I think Toronto will sign him. So.
Okay.
So.
All right. So we got the NHL, the NAHL. What else do we have?
Well, USHL. We got the draft coming up in end of June. Where is that? United Center this year?
Oh, you got me. Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure.
I think it's the United Center.
Okay.
But I tell you what, we got 2 Minnesota kids that'll be most likely gone in the first round, and one will probably be in the top 5. Casey Middlestate.
Okay, that was going to be my first guess.
Okay. Who was the second one in the
Well,
first round?
I didn't have a second guess. That was my first guess.
He had 2 brothers he played with in high school.
Okay. Let us know.
No, his 2 brothers are Nick and Jack Paling.
Okay.
And he's Ryan. He came up early and he played as a 17-year-old up in St. Cloud State this last year.
Really?
Yeah. With his brothers.
Ah, all right.
So most likely he'll be gone in the first round. He's got size and he's about 6'3", and he's got the grit.
Any talk as to who or where Neil Pionk might end up?
Someone just said that he got signed in New York Rangers today.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
So
John Gilbert had Tom Curvers as a guest last week, and Tom said that when John asked him, if they would sign Neil Pionk, Tom said something to the effect of, "I'm not sure, but I know we'd like to," or at least Tom would have liked to have.
Well, there's 20 out of the, how many teams are there? 30? 30 teams, National Hockey League? Over 20 want him, would sign him.
Jeez, and that's something.
So you got almost 2/3 of the league.
Yeah. I remember when Matt Niskanen, he played 2 seasons at UMD and then left after his sophomore year and joined the Dallas Stars. I had a chance to interview him that summer before that season started, and I just, at the end of the interview said, well, hopefully you can, crack the lineup and get in a few games this year. He never played in the minor leagues.
Nope.
He started with the big club, and he's been there ever since.
And I didn't think he had a great career at UMD those 2 years either.
Yeah.
It was just kind of funny.
Yeah.
But there's a kid I give all the credit. He told the Gophers, nope, I'm not going there. You're not making me go to juniors. I want to captain my baseball team, my football team, and hockey team.
Yeah.
I want to be with my friends my senior year.
Yeah.
And he did it and went to UMD. And I mean, it's a great story.
Sure.
And ended up. It's kind of funny, all these East teams that are still in the playoffs, they all have Minnesota kids, and all the West teams, they don't have the Minnesota kids.
Oh.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, we've come to the end. Final thoughts, Jer?
Well, it's fun. Nothing better than Stanley Cup playoffs. The North American Hockey League, if you want tickets, go to the Duluth Heritage Center or go to nahl.com. And there's still a lot of hockey left this year, so see you at the rink.
Yeah, we'll be around here for a couple of weeks. We want to thank the staff at PACT-TV for producing this program. Look for us online, MinnesotaHockeyConnection.com. Look for us on Facebook and like us there. And like Jerry said, we'll see you at the rink, and we'll be back here next week to drop the puck. We'll see you then.